There are people in this world whose only job every single day is to make sure one specific person does not die. Thousands of them working in shifts, underground, in the air, inside crowds, some you can see, most you cannot. So here is the question that starts everything. Why is the President of the United States almost impossible to kill? The United States Secret Service was founded in 1865, the same day Abraham Lincoln was shot. That is not a coincidence. It is a warning that nobody listened to fast enough. Lower third, U.S. Secret Service Est. July 5, 1865. Source: Secret Service Official History. Today, the Secret Service protects the President, the Vice President, their families, and dozens of other world leaders when they visit American soil. It runs around the clock, every day of the year, in every city the President travels to. It is one of the most sophisticated personal protection operations in human history. This story matters right now because the threat landscape has changed dramatically. Lone gunmen, organized terrorist cells, weaponized drones, nerve agents, cyber attacks, and even insiders, the dangers have multiplied. Understanding how the system works is not just fascinating. It is a window into how modern democracies protect power itself. Warning content note: this section discusses historical assassinations and attempts, described with factual restraint and respect. 1865. Abraham Lincoln is killed at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. The Secret Service had been created that very same day for an entirely different purpose: to investigate counterfeit currency. Nobody was protecting Lincoln that night. A single police officer had been assigned to his box and he left his post. Lower third, Lincoln assassination, April 14, 1865. Source: Library of Congress. 1901. President William McKinley is shot at a public event in Buffalo, New York. He dies 8 days later. Congress has still not made it the Secret Service's official job to protect the president. That only happens after McKinley's death, the third presidential assassination in 36 years. 1963, Dallas, Texas. President John F. Kennedy is riding in an open convertible through a published motorcade route. No buildings along the route have been inspected. Some agents assigned to protect him had been out drinking until the early hours of the morning. The motorcade is moving at just 11 miles per hour. According to journalist Carol Leonig in her book Zero Fail, the agency at that point had only 350 agents total, with just 6 rotating around the president on any given day. Source: Zero Fail by Carol Leonig, 2021. 3 shots, 6 seconds, a nation changed forever. Kennedy's death did not just traumatize the country, it forced the Secret Service to completely rebuild itself from the ground up. 1981, Washington, D.C. A man named John Hinckley Jr. opens fire outside a hotel as President Ronald Reagan is walking to his limousine. Agent Tim McCarthy does not hesitate. He turns toward the gunfire, spreads his body wide, and takes a bullet in the torso. Reagan is also struck by a round that ricochets off the armored car. He nearly bleeds to death before reaching the hospital. According to Ronald Kessler's book In the President's Secret Service, Reagan survived partly because the hospital was close. A few more minutes and the outcome would have been different. Source: In the President's Secret Service by Ronald Kessler, 2009. Lower third, Reagan assassination attempt, March 30, 1981. Source: FBI Archives. 2001, September 11th. President George W. Bush is sitting in a Florida classroom when the Twin Towers are hit. The Secret Service wants to move him immediately. But for 7 agonizing minutes, according to multiple accounts, political staff resist, concerned about the optics of frightening children on camera. It is a moment that exposes a critical flaw. The agents protecting the president did not yet have the authority to override the president's own communications staff in a life-or-death emergency. Source: 9/11 Commission Report 2004. Source: Zero Fail by Carol Leonig, 2021. 2024, Butler, Pennsylvania. A gunman climbs onto a rooftop within clear line of sight of a campaign stage where former President Donald Trump is speaking. According to reporting from multiple outlets, the roof had not been assigned a security post. Trump is struck by a bullet that grazes his ear. 1 rally-goer is killed, 2 others are critically injured. 6 Secret Service agents are suspended. The director resigns. Source: Associated Press, July 2024. Source: Congressional Testimony, Secret Service Director, 2024. Lower Third Butler PA shooting, July 13, 2024. Source: AP Reuters. What we know about how the Secret Service actually works comes from a combination of official government documents, congressional testimony, and two particularly well-sourced books of investigative journalism. Carol Leonig's Zero Fail, published in 2021, is based on hundreds of interviews with current and former Secret Service agents, and is widely cited in security policy discussions. Ronald Kessler's In the President's Secret Service, published in 2009 and updated multiple times, draws on similar access. Both are considered the most comprehensive civilian accounts of the agency's inner workings available to the public. Source: Zero Fail, Carol Leonig, 2021. Source: In the President's Secret Service, Ronald Kessler, 2009. According to Kessler, counter-sniper agents are reportedly required to demonstrate they can hit a target at 1,000 yards every single month. If they fail that test, they are reportedly removed from active duty. This is not confirmed by the Secret Service publicly. The agency does not release its training standards, but it is consistent with multiple independent accounts. Source: In the President's Secret Service, Ronald Kessler. Note: Secret Service does not publicly confirm training benchmarks. The presidential limousine, known informally as the Beast, is confirmed by NBC News and other outlets to weigh approximately 20,000 pounds, cost around $1.5 million, and be sealed against chemical attacks. According to these reports, it carries a supply of blood matching the president's type. Not all of its defensive systems are publicly disclosed. Source: NBC News report on presidential limousine. Source: General Services Administration vehicle records. The threat classification system, Class 1 through Class 3, is described in detail by Kessler and has been referenced in congressional testimony. Class 3 threats are reportedly individuals judged to have both a serious intent to harm and the means to carry it out. The Secret Service is reported to receive an average of 10 threats per day, most directed at the president. Source: Ronald Kessler, In the President's Secret Service. Source: Congressional Budget Justification, DHS. Multiple years. Not everyone agrees on how effective the modern Secret Service actually is, or how much of its success is skill versus luck. Some security analysts argue that the biggest threats to a sitting president have historically come not from sophisticated foreign operations, but from domestic individuals acting alone, people who were on no watch list, who bought legal firearms, and who simply walked into a public space. The system, they argue, is well designed to stop the threats it knows about. It is less reliable against the ones it does not see coming. Others point to the internal scandals of the 2000s and 2010s, which reportedly included agents misusing government resources, being involved in conduct unbecoming of federal officers, and in at least one case allegedly covering up a serious incident involving an informant, as evidence that the culture inside the agency has at times undermined its own mission. According to Leonig's reporting, some of these incidents were handled internally rather than referred for outside investigation. Source: Zero Fail, Carol Leonig, 2021, Internal Misconduct Reporting. There is also genuine uncertainty about the Butler shooting in 2024. At the time of publication of this script, multiple investigations were ongoing. Congressional inquiries had raised questions about communication breakdowns, unclear assignments for specific rooftop areas, and whether staffing shortages played a role. No final official report had been publicly released with complete findings. Source: House Judiciary Committee hearing, July-September 2024. Status: investigation ongoing as of late 2024. The honest answer is this: the full picture of how close calls are handled and how many have been prevented that the public never hears about is not fully knowable from the outside. The agency is, by design, secretive. Sidebar: the Jackal, Secret Service internal term for any would-be assassin, used in training and threat briefings. Behind every policy change and security protocol is a human story. Clint Hill was the agent assigned to protect Jacqueline Kennedy in Dallas in 1963. He was one of the agents who had been out the night before, though he left earlier than the others. When the shots were fired, he ran. He reached the limousine. He was too late. He later said on camera that he has had to live with that moment every day since. That sentence, quiet, contained, spoken by a man in his later years, carries more weight than any diagram of a motorcade route. Tim McCarthy, the agent who turned toward Hinckley's gun in 1981, survived his wound. He later became a police chief in suburban Illinois. He has said in interviews that he did not consciously decide to step in front of the president. It was simply what the training had prepared him to do. His body moved before his mind could stop it. That is what the system is designed to produce, reflexes that override fear. And there are the people who are not agents. The rally-goer killed in Butler, Pennsylvania in 2024. The press secretary and police officers wounded in Washington in 1981. The people caught in the perimeter of events they attended simply to be near history. They are part of this story too, and they deserve to be named with care and remembered with respect. Think of presidential protection like a series of concentric rings. The outermost ring is intelligence, knowing who might try something before they ever arrive. The next ring is physical perimeter, barriers, checkpoints, dogs, drones. The next ring is human, agents and crowds, watching for the person who looks wrong, moves wrong, breathes differently than everyone else around them. And at the very center is the protective detail. The last line, the people whose job is to be between the bullet and the person. Each ring failing does not automatically mean the president dies, but each failure brings the threat one step closer to the center. Why does this matter beyond the obvious? Because the stability of American democracy is legally and constitutionally tied to the continuity of the executive branch. The 25th Amendment exists precisely because the country needs a clear answer to the question, what happens next? Assassinations do not just kill individuals, they create power vacuums, trigger institutional crises, and in the worst cases, destabilize entire governments. Protecting the president is, in the most literal sense, protecting the system of government itself. There's also a technological dimension that grows more serious every year. The threat of weaponized drones, small, cheap, fast, and hard to track, is now taken seriously enough that the Secret Service established an entire airspace security branch after 9/11 specifically to monitor and control the sky above wherever the president is located. That branch did not exist before 2001. It exists now because the world changed, and the protection had to change with it. Here is what we know. The United States has not lost a president to violence since 1963. That is more than 6 decades of success in one of the hardest security assignments on Earth. The Secret Service has evolved from a small, underfunded bodyguard unit into a layered, technologically sophisticated protection apparatus drawing on intelligence, counter-terrorism, and advanced logistics. Here is what we do not know: how many threats were stopped before they became attempts, how many close calls the public never heard about, and whether the gaps revealed in Butler, Pennsylvania in 2024 have been fully addressed. What we do know is this: the system is not perfect, but it is far better than it was, and the question of whether that is enough may be answered again by history. The near-term future of presidential protection will likely be shaped by 3 forces. The first is technology. Autonomous drones, AI-assisted facial recognition, and real-time crowd analysis tools are already being tested or deployed. The Secret Service will either lead that curve or be caught behind it. Confidence level high that these tools will be increasingly integrated. The second is politics. High-profile events like contested elections and highly polarized campaigns have historically produced elevated threat environments. Threat volumes against sitting presidents and candidates have increased dramatically in recent years. Confidence level high that this trend continues in the short term. The third is internal reform. Following the Butler shooting, the agency faced unprecedented public scrutiny. Congressional pressure for external review of Secret Service protocols was significant. Whether that pressure produces lasting structural reform rather than personnel changes and surface adjustments remains genuinely uncertain. Confidence level medium that reforms will be substantive, low that they will be fast. The deeper scenario, the one no one wants to think about, is that the next serious attempt may come from a direction the current system is not designed to see. Every major failure in this history came from a blind spot. The challenge is not just building a better system, it is imagining threats that have not happened yet. The Secret Service does not celebrate its successes. By definition, a successful day is a day nothing happened. The agents go home, the president goes home, and the world keeps moving without knowing how close it came to stopping. That, more than anything, is what makes this story worth understanding, not the failures, which are public and painful, but the invisible weight of all the ordinary days when the system worked exactly as designed and nobody noticed at all. If you want to go deeper on one of the most significant recent security failures in this history, our next video breaks down exactly what went wrong in Butler, Pennsylvania in July 2024. The decisions made, the gaps that opened, and what has changed since. Suggested next video, right arrow, the Butler shooting, what the Secret Service got wrong.